You're listening to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast for and by Rockies fans on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Thank you for joining us as we discuss all things baseball and Colorado Rockies. Hello and welcome to Affected by Altitude, a Colorado Rockies podcast on Rocky Mountain Rooftop, the Rockies affiliate of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Evan Lang, and with me, as always, with his soundboard in tow, Skyler Timmons.
Here comes Honey Boo Boo.
And
thank you, Werner Herzog.
Werner Herzog.
That was the first one I saw that popped up. But Evan,
Yeah.
I have a joke here for you. What can you catch but not throw? These hands. No, but the answer is your breath.
That's not a very good joke.
Well, that's the quality jokes you get with Laffy Taffy.
I was about to ask if that was a Laffy Taffy joke. I was going to say, that sounds like a Laffy Taffy joke.
Yeah.
Which are worse, popsicle stick jokes or Laffy Taffy jokes?
Laffy Taffy. I don't know where they're getting these jokes from.
This taffy has not made me laughy one bit.
It's true. Why did the candle get a round of applause?
Because he was burnt out.
It was sensational.
What if it's an unscented candle?
I don't know. Hold on, I have something for this.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Speaking of things that stink, the Colorado Rockies.
Oh no, segues.
After what was a pretty fun span of time where we, won some games against the Phillies and won some games against the Guardians and won a game against the Dodgers, the Rockies are back to doing Rockies things. Lost the series to the Dodgers, got swept by the Cincinnati Reds.
That happens. That's baseball.
Yeah.
And now the Rockies are currently in St. Louis, the Lou, as some people call it, apparently, playing the Cardinals, and stole a game from the Cardinals. That was pretty fun, despite the fact the offense really didn't show up for that game. It was mostly a bunch of self-inflicted errors. But then yesterday, just fell apart again, despite some heroic play from unsuspected source Michael Toglia, who's back in the big leagues. So. Huge heavy for Toglia. The unfortunate thing is that Toglia is back in the bigs because Kris Bryant is back on the injured list.
Mm-hmm.
We all pretty much expected this would happen, but after KB got tangled up in the netting at Dodger Stadium, they were originally calling it that he re-aggravated his back, but it ended up being what they were calling a rib contusion.
Lightly bumped into a wall.
Either way, Brian is back on the 10-day injured list. Also going on the 10-day injured list at the end of the Cincinnati Reds series is outfielder Sean Bouchard. So the Rockies called up Toglia and Greg Jones, outfielder and shortstop, who was obtained from the from the Tampa Bay Rays in exchange for pitching prospect Joe Rock over the offseason. And Toglia has played in both games against the Cardinals, which is great. And Greg Jones was a late defensive replacement and got no at-bats.
The Moonlight Graham appearance.
Pretty much. And I'll start with just saying I was really frustrated when they called up Greg Jones. They didn't put him in the lineup because they were talking about how great it was that all his friends and family were there on that first game of the Cardinal series. And they didn't put him into the game until the 9th inning as a defensive replacement.
Yeah, maybe he'll get a start on like Sunday or something.
I'm
if
not
he sticks around, but
expecting it. But Toglia has made his way into the lineup in both games so far and is currently penciled in to start Game 3 against the Cardinals here today. And I think we need to talk a little bit about Michael Toglia because, in being honest, he really did. He was very impressive in spring training and then struggled out of the gate to the tune of, it was a 106 batting average or something like that, and was sent back down. But then after being sent back down, he really was finding a lot of success in AAA Albuquerque. And now that he's back up, it's really interesting to see what's different. Specifically, He hasn't really been striking out a ton. Granted, it's only been 2 games. He's making good contact. He's making effective contact. And he's made some very impressive defensive plays.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I like Michael Toglia. And he's one that we've debated about because a first-round pick. No, there's a ton of potential with Toglia. The problem is just it hasn't translated to the big leagues because he's kind of a 3 true outcomes type of guy. Hits home runs because, man, he's got power to boot, but strikes out quite a bit. Sometimes doesn't walk a whole lot, but he can draw walks. But when he goes down to AAA Albuquerque, he's an entirely different player. And I like the timing of him getting called up because on last Wednesday, what my rock pile was about Michael Toglia over at purpleroad.com. Highlighting he's just this different player, and is the talent difference between pitching is that crevice so vast that he can't cross it. Because down in AAA, you can see what Toglia can do. 270 hitter, which I think would be pretty really, really good for him, just the way he plays the game. But it's making contact, Devin, like you mentioned, because when he makes contact, dude hits it with all his might. Nearly 50% of the time, he's getting a registered hard hit ball. So he can wallop them. It's just a matter of him keeping up with the ball and making contact to actually do damage. And these first few games in St. Louis, yeah, he's been doing that. Just making some contact. There was a couple of slow rollers. Just put the bat on the ball. Something good will happen. Because strikeout doesn't help anybody. And luckily, he's avoided some double plays, but he has that bat ability. It just hasn't translated. And so that's what he really needs is just, I think what helps in Albuquerque, Evan, that we can kind of transition into, is in Albuquerque, he gets regular playing time. He's in there every single day. Now, outfield, first base, he's somewhere in the corner outfielder, first base, or DHing. He's playing every day, and I think he starts to get a rhythm. And that's really something he hasn't gotten in his really small sample size of big league games, like less than 100 games at the big league level. He actually gets regular playing time in the minors that he doesn't get at the big leagues. And I think that's where he shines, is when he can do things regularly and kind of get a rhythm, a feel for the game. That's kind of the type of player he is that needs those everyday reps. Otherwise, those strikeouts start to rack up because I got to do something in this little moment that I'm playing now, or I'm not going to play again for a week.
I think where that really shows is in how he can draw walks.
Yeah.
Down at AAA Albuquerque this year, he was sent down at the end of April, drew 15 walks to 35 strikeouts during that time, about 30 games, 119 at bats. But in his first stint with the Rockies, from the beginning of the season through, April 21st, only 1 walk.
Mm-hmm.
And he struck out a ton. So you look at him and you go, I think it was 20 strikeouts to 1 walk. Yeah. And you go, well, what's the
10-to-1 ratio?
And it really is he's getting regular playing time, first of all, and allows him to get comfortable. And, I think that's what you want from him, especially he's such a high upside player, both with the glove and with a bat. He can demolish that ball, but he's a starting caliber defender at both first base and in the corner outfield. Yeah. And we've seen him make some great plays, not necessarily at first base a ton this year, but in the past we've seen him make good plays at first. In right field, in game 1 against the Cardinals, he saved a home run with an incredible catch. Later on, he was switched to left field and made another great catch.
Yeah, the day after.
He makes plays. He's a playmaker.
Yeah.
And that's why the Rockies drafted him so high. He's got this great potential. They drafted him in the first round, 23rd overall in 2019. And it's been just so weird to see him not get regular playing time, because this is a guy you've invested so much development time and draft capital in, and we know that he's got this upside.
Yeah. And I think that's what's frustrated is when we why isn't Hunter Goodman playing? In terms of Hunter Goodman is like a 4th round pick. You're going to put more stock into a higher round pick like a Jordan Beck or a Michael Toglia in this instance, where you invested a lot more in that guy. You need him to pan out more than you do your 4th round pick, so to speak. And so, but it's their hesitation to let him work through some things, let him play every single day and work through it and show growth and development. Because look what happened with Jordan Beck, Evan. They put him out there and they let him start every day. Whether he was struggling or not, he was out there. And then before he broke his hand, he was starting to get a rhythm, starting to hit for some pop, a lot better at bats. Things were starting to get a little more momentum. Then he breaks his hand and then he goes on the IL. But that's kind of something Toglia needs, is put your trust in the guy. And that is something that we critique Bud Black about a lot of things, a lot of warranted things. His mismanagement of top prospects or just prospects in general, I think, has been a huge detriment to a lot of these guys. Like in Larry Montero, where when he needed to be starting when he first got called up, and like we were talking about with Greg Jones, we call these guys up and then they don't play. And that's not helping anybody. That's not helping these guys. Like that excitement. Yeah, I'm getting called up. I'm going to be playing. Oh, never mind. I'm just sitting on the bench doing nothing.
Yeah, and for guys like Montero, this is his 3rd season with big league playing time, and it's taken him that long to get consistent bats. Now he's playing pretty frequently. But,
and I think that's hurt his development too. Is just that kind of stilted playing, where we're not getting that much.
And also the constant bounce back and forth.
Exactly.
This is something we've complained about before, where you call them up, they're an everyday player in Albuquerque. You call them up, all of a sudden they're not an everyday player. They sit and they sit and they sit. And then in the limited playing time that they get, they're not very good. So they get sent back down to Albuquerque, and it just starts this cycle back and forth. Mm-hmm. And we've seen that with Montero, and we've seen that with Toglia, and we've seen that with Bouchard and Goodman. And like, just name a Rockies prospect, and 9 times out of 10, it's happened to them. And it's frustrating because in the meantime, we're getting guys like Jake Cave on pace for 250 plus plate appearances this year, when he's a guy who you allegedly signed to be a 4th outfielder at best and back up Brenton Doyle. And he's made 2 starts in center field for Brenton?
Mm-hmm. Also, the Rockies, to that credit, I don't think the Rockies expected Doyle to be as good as he has been this year. And so JK was a contingency. And then he actually started playing a little better than some of these other guys, which again fits into all this weird cycle where, we're just going to put out the best guy that we feel right now instead of committing development time to this guy at the big league level.
And what I'll say about Jake Cave is a good fielder. He has made some great defensive plays. He is a quality asset in the outfield. Great. But he can't hit.
Hey, I will not stand for this Jake Cave desecration of his at-bat. He's come up with some big hits late in games.
Yeah, for a whole 620 OPS, 5 RBIs so far in almost 100 at-bats.
Hey, it works for me.
It's just, I don't even hate Jake Cave. I don't. I think he
sounds like you do at times, though.
Because it's so frustrating to see the Rockies make these same mistakes again and again. Mm-hmm. Jake Cave this year is last year's Harold Castro, who is inexplicably getting more and more playing time over younger players and developing prospects in a season where the Rockies are bad. The Rockies are going to lose a lot of games. And I don't know why. Like, if I'm Bill Schmidt, the general manager, and the guy who you were clearly so high on in Greg Jones that you traded a pretty highly ranked pitching prospect in exchange for him. You traded Joe Rock, who has been excellent in AAA Durham for the Rays organization, by the way. So remember, if the Rays want one of your pitchers, don't give him to them. But then you call up Greg Jones, who has, arguably missed a decent chunk of time and hasn't played that well down in AAA Albuquerque. He dealt with some injuries, but he's got high upside in the eyes of the organization. And you have him called up, and he doesn't touch the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how does that cause frustration, do you think, for Bill Schmidt? Like, I really want to know what his thoughts are on that, where all of his guys that he's drafted and tried to get in and develop, and they never get playing time.
Yeah, well, I think it goes back to a whole other can of worms that we've talked about before of who's really at the forefront of making decisions for this organization. No, we have a restaurant named after him, McDonford's.
Good old McDonald's.
Now opening 2 locations in Greeley, Colorado. Now weird smell free. Apologies to our friends in Greeley.
It's free of the old weird smell. There's a different weird smell now.
We don't know where it's coming from, but it's still here. Yeah, because I think if Bill Schmidt really had a lot of power or control, or was really frustrated by a lot of these things, Bud Black wouldn't still be here.
See, that's what I was thinking, and we were kind of having that conversation in our Slack channel as well. I feel like if Bill Schmidt had the true power of running the show, that Bud Black would not have returned for the 2024 season.
Yeah. Because when those conversations, who was it that wants to extend Bud Black? Oh, it's Dick Monfort. No, it wasn't Bill Schmidt coming out yeah, we wanted to see, we'll talk about things. No, it was Dick Monfort be yeah, we've had those conversations. We want him back. I want him back. We'll see.
And for what it's worth, all of the conversation about Bud Black getting an extension were before the season. Since the season started, those talks, we've heard nothing of them.
Yeah, it was one thing from Thomas Harding and a thing.
Patrick Saunders mentioned in a mailbag that Bud said that, they couldn't talk about it or something like that.
Yeah.
I doubt, or at least, there's nothing about the Rockies' performance this season that is going to scream, you've got to bring this guy back. But at the same time, I think then it's really weird to just go through an entire lame duck season where the manager is just going to walk, especially when the Rockies are really bad.
Mm-hmm.
We're still probably going to lose 90 plus this year. I never bought into the whole, the Rockies are on pace to lose 130 games. That was never going to happen. Especially, early in the season, as bad as they are, you can't really trust those on-pace numbers for wins and losses. But at the same time, we knew the Rockies were going to be bad. The Rockies are bad. And we can't even count on changes to be made during the season or even after the season. Mm-hmm. And so we keep seeing these same mistakes repeated again and again of burning through options. Montero's out of options completely now in his 3rd year with the Rockies. And guys not getting significant playing time in exchange for underperforming veterans that Bud Black really happens to like. And, I understand that Bill Schmidt is the guy who brought in Jake Cave. But I do think that Schmidt probably did bring in Cave with the intention of him being the 4th outfielder, not the everyday starting outfielder.
Yeah. And, I understand, the role of, you're having a manager. The manager... But it feels like there's just people not all on the same page, because I don't think any team wants.
In a nutshell.
I don't think any team wants their general manager sitting there in the dugout okay, lay out the lineup like this. Basically like Billy Beane in Moneyball, where then he trades away Carlos Pena because he wants him to play Chris Pratt at first base, playing former kind of Rocky Scott Hatterberg, but So, and the Rockies have had problems of a GM meddling there with old Bill Guyvet when he had his office there in the clubhouse, and people are like, "What the frick is this?"
Oh yeah, so I don't think the GM should never have an office in the clubhouse or be hanging out in the dugout.
But they should be on the same page of here's how we're trying to build this team. This is how we're trying to construct it. But Bud Black's still constructing it the way he wants to. Of I got to put my veterans in. He's trying to win ball games, and to him, winning ball games means playing veterans, which isn't the answer for this team, especially. Playing young guys, that can be the answer to winning ball games, but you don't know if they can until you play them, type of thing.
But it's the same thing though. Of that this season, most Rockies fans, at least you and I, came into the season with the understanding that this was not really a season about winning ball games.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where a big portion of the disconnect is. Bud Black, in his ways, wants to try and win ball games, and he puts up the lineup in the way that he thinks that's going to happen. but it hasn't really happened that way, and that's not what this season should have been about.
Yeah. And it's okay to try and win ball games. That's the point of playing the sport.
Yeah, no one is saying
But
go out
it's-
there and try and lose.
Yeah, but it's like, in a sense of trying to win, it's just, okay, how can we put out a competitive product and develop ourselves into a competitive product instead of we have to win this game? Like, none of these games this season are a must-win game. Like, nobody cares. I couldn't care less if, well, I do care if they win. I care more about the losing. I hate losing. But more so, I hate getting blown out. I hate those embarrassing losses.
I would rather go out there and try and win and still lose than have those games where just complete implosions or it was a blowout from the start.
Yeah. And that's the disconnect. And so it'd be cool if we can see Toglia get more starting time to kind of bring this conversation full circle before we take a break. It's good to see guys like him, let him roll out there more. Let him see if he can stick. And so then it can force them to make some decisions. And Bill Schmidt be like, Bud, you got to play these guys because I'm trying to build a team and I need to know what we have before I make some moves. Because he needs to make some moves, like a Montero, who's been playing at first base. Fortunately, we kind of know what we're getting from Montero, which isn't much. And so that can then signal to Bill Schmidt, oh, maybe I should make a move there and figure something out. So then we can plug Toglia in there. And then, okay, who do we have in the outfield? What can Goodman do in the outfield with extended playing time? We don't. Okay, looks like we have something there that can help our decision process. Nolan Jones is coming back. Okay, where do the other guys fit into this type of thing? There's just that disconnect. I think that's what this all boils down to.
Yeah. It's the owner, the manager, and the GM all operating on different pages out of different playbooks.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And too many cooks in the kitchen, and nobody's making the same recipe.
Yeah. Dick Monfort's making his McDonfort's
goo.
The delicious McDonfort's McGoo. McDugnuts. Out of their McDappy meal. Bring your McDids along. And Bill Schmidt's trying to make a hearty gumbo.
Mm-hmm.
And Bud Black is making a ham sandwich.
He's making a ham sandwich. Before we take a break, Evan, because that's a really good analogy, ask me, we'll do a quick role play here. I'm Bud Black. You're Bill Schmidt asking me to play some prospects more regularly.
Please have Michael Toglia in the starting lineup every day this week.
No thanks, bro.
And with that, we're going to take our first ad break here. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Skyler and Evan. Thank you so much for sticking with us through that ad break. You know, we're talking a lot about playing prospects and making moves, and I think that's a good segue into some potentially tremendous breaking news here. According to Baseball Writers Association of America author and writer Francis Romero, the Colorado Rockies are calling up top prospect, number 1 organizational prospect, and number 32 MLB pipeline prospect in the top 100, infielder Adael Amador. Not confirmed yet by anyone within the Rockies organization at time of recording, but right now that is what we are hearing, is that Amador is on his way. If he is playing today, as of right now, he's not in the lineup. This is going to be really, really interesting. And I think it also, I'll lead right into this because I just saw a very similar tweet, is that if you're calling up Adael Amador, your number 1 prospect, which is likely, the move is likely in correspondence with Brendan Rodgers with a potential hamstring injury last night, probably going on the IL, and Amador's already on the 40-man roster, so you don't have to make a corresponding move. If Amador sits on the bench in exchange for, and no offense to him, Alan Trejo playing at second base while Rodgers is hurt, that cannot happen. Amador needs to play. Amador needs the Jordan Beck, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle treatment every day. Every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then if he's doing really good by the end of that, whatever, how long, Rodgers on the IL, you got some decisions to make there, type of thing. But yeah, exciting news. And what do you think about this, Emperor Palpatine? Yeah, see, he agrees with this.
I'm not sure I agree, Papa Palpatine, just because I'm a little worried about this move, even if he is starting every day, because Amador, I am just not sure if he is ready to make such a big jump. He's been very impressive over the last week or so. Roughly May 25th to now, he absolutely caught fire. Really, really impressive. But before that, he was struggling a great deal down in AA Hartford. And I'm just not sure if such a big jump so quick. And yeah, he's hot right now. That's great. But what if this jump for him does more harm than good, where one of the big things about even during his struggles this year down in AA was that he did not change his plate approach, which is very patient. He draws a lot of walks. What was so important about that is that even though before May 25th, he was only hitting like 145, he still had an on-base percentage of 313 because he was drawing an equal amount of walks as he was to striking out. And you don't want to mess with that.
Yeah. Well, that is the big concern is, do the big league team get their claws in him and then everything he's been doing well in the minors is thrown out the window? We've seen that with a lot of these other prospects where they're doing some really good stuff and then they come up to the big leagues and they're just waving it. They fit into the mold immediately and get infested by whatever hitting philosophy the Rockies are employing for some reason. Of swing at it and hope you make contact.
It's partially that, but it's also the tremendous pressure of calling up a 21-year-old to the big straight from AA.
Well, yeah, the Rockies did it with what's his name, guy Tulowitzki. Yeah, they did it with that guy. I think it turned out okay for him.
No, I don't remember that guy at all. I'm sure he didn't really make a big impression.
I'm sure he played a long, healthy career.
Ooh. It's tough. It really is, because we do keep getting shades of the past. Like we were talking about it a couple weeks ago when Ezekiel Tovar was pulling the shades of Tulo, and now we've got another opportunity. It's these middle infield guys, and Amador is he is technically a shortstop, but pretty much everybody agrees that his future is second base. It's just it's a really interesting move, and I'm not sold on whether I like it or not yet. Because on one hand, I am really, really excited to see Adael Amador. If he can, he's a special prospect. But on the other hand, like you said, I don't want what plagues this organization to sink into him and cause some issues with his development when he's so young. Especially because what a real easy move would have been is put Greg Jones in at second base.
Yeah. Something like that. Or they probably would have just stuck Alan Trejo in there every day. And unfortunately, we know what Trejo can bring to the table. And unfortunately, it's not much. Like a decent glove, but he's not really a starting caliber offensive player. Like he can contribute, but it's just leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah.
And so he's better off kind of being your utility infield guy. And then you have Greg Jones, where I think you were saying hasn't played a lot of second base, but he also seems like a guy that they're not, I don't know what their plans are with Greg Jones. Is their super utility guy? Greg Jones is Garrett Hampson right now. So they'll just speedy guy that can play everywhere and maybe do some stuff offensively. So I understand their move of, we got to get something going. Let's bring up our top prospect and see what he can do. We have an opening with Brendan Rodgers, who Rodgers' future is still up in the air to me. Yeah, he has a year of control or so left, but are they even going to keep him around after this season? And so at this point in the season, like we were talking about before, this year you find out what you've got. If they feel Amador is ready or they just want to give him a look, okay. It saves him from making more moves on the 40-man. There are some concerns of, well, he's only been hot for about a week. He struggled. Can we trust a more recent hot streak? Is it just a hot streak, or is it who he actually is? So it's going to be a weird instance, a weird call. Whereas Tulowitzki was like, yeah, that dude's ready. He's tearing up Double-A. Heck with it. We need a shortstop. Let's call him up. And boom, he's starting 2007. It's weird. Weird team.
Those days. And the thing is with Amador is he's put together some really solid play in other levels of the minor leagues.
Yeah.
But like I said, that first big chunk of the year so far in Hartford struggling. And yes, over the last 9 games, he's been incredible. Like, I don't want to downplay that at all. From May 25th to June 7th, 9 games, has an OPS of 1.268 with 6 home runs, 14 RBIs, a double, and 6 stolen bases. But something that we can also see on that hot streak is the walks are going down and the strikeouts are going up. Not to a super concerning level, but during that stretch, 4 walks to 10 strikeouts. And this is a strikeout happy big league team, and I do not want that to affect him. Don't do that to me.
Because, like, naturally, as he plays better and better competition, the strikeouts are going to go up. That's just the natural thing. It's if he can keep them, like you're saying, kind of in check, in correlation to each other, where all of a sudden, there's a huge spike in strikeouts and my walks are going way down, like the rest of this Rockies team.
Yeah.
But
And
I think Amador has proven throughout his career, and like you hear the stories about him growing up, where he's just never changed his approach, which is a key thing. He has a good keen eye for it. So it's being able to, I guess, adjust and put the bat to the ball. That's going to make the difference for him when he does play.
Yeah, and it is something that is worth noting. And I know that I'm the worry word here, because he has proven at basically every level that he can continue this plate approach and he can hit well. Since making his professional debut in 2021 in the Arizona Complex League to now, he's really only struggled in Double-A. And he was only very briefly in Double-A to end last season, only played 10 games there, hit 143, 244, 229. And you saw him strike out 26 times and strike out 8 times to 4 walks. That's a very small sample size. And even then, this year, that's still a small sample size. But you look at 2022 with the Fresno Grizzlies, OPS of 860. 2023 with the Spokane Indians, OPS of 905. And I do feel like maybe we can show some optimism here. And I know that's I've causing some whiplash here as I go back and this could be terrible. Oh, this could be great. But at the end of the day, if things go right and they do things properly, and that means you're playing him every day while he's here, you are giving him consistent at bats, you're not giving up on him, you're letting him adjust, and he starts to see the ball, well, then shucks golly, everybody. Our number 1 overall prospect is ready for the show.
Also, what number is he going to wear? Because he was wearing number 2 down in the minors, and they decided to give that to Greg Jones.
That's a really interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember what number he's all worn throughout his entire career.
Yeah, I don't know. But right now in Hartford, he was wearing number 2. That's a weird extra point, but what stilted him, I think, in Double-A2 was, just the injuries that kind of popped up for him when he moved over there, or from in June of last year, get the 7-day injured list in Spokane, and then went on rehab assignment in August. Finally, went to the Yard Goats after that rehab, and then gets placed on the injured list again just a couple days later, and then finishes out that 2023 season just kind of sitting on that injured list for the rest of the season. And
then
then
plus the kind of awkward period of time where he, was rehabbing. He played Dominican winter ball. Here's an option. Number 1.
there you go.
They, on the Colorado Rockies team issued jersey, on the Rockies auction website, has number 1 on it, and nobody's wearing number 1 right now.
There you go. Is that what he wore in spring training?
I don't remember what he wore in spring. No, he had a minor leaguer number in spring training. He wore number 5 with the Yard Goats last year.
That ain't happening.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Who knows? Maybe it could.
This is the quality content everyone tunes in for, is me scouring Google Images for pictures of Amador with Fresno. He wore number 2 in Fresno. That is a picture of Connor Joe, Google. That is not Adael Amador.
Adael Amador has confirmed it on his Instagram that he is coming.
And he wore number 2 in Spokane. So he's going to have to fight that out with Greg Jones.
Yeah. And also his Instagram handle has number 11 in it.
That's Jake Cave's number.
Yeah.
That's Rockies legend Mike Moustakis' number. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But no, that's really exciting. So in the amount of time since we were getting ready to record this podcast, started recording, and now here, halfway through, we had the rumor that Amador was coming up, reporting that Amador was coming up, and now Amador himself has confirmed that he is coming up. So welcome to the show, Adael Amador.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully by the time you've heard this, he's already hit 7 home runs and is hitting 2,000 on the season. I don't know how that's possible, but he did it.
My guess, honestly, is that he's probably not with the team yet. Unless they made this call very late last night, he probably wasn't traveling already, was probably still with the Yard Goats. So that might be why, the Rockies have already cemented their lineup for this afternoon. That game starts in about half an hour or so.
Yeah.
He's just not there yet.
He could be. Since they probably made a decision on, Friday night, looking over, what's his name? Brendan Rodgers. Because they still have the taxi squad that travels with the team, don't they? Like a couple of minor leaguers that are just kind of like there just in case.
I actually don't think they do.
I can't remember if they stopped doing that or not.
I feel like they haven't done the taxi squad since at least 2022.
Yeah. Anyway,
I mean,
still do that.
The issue with having a taxi squad is that those are guys that are then not getting regular playing time anywhere. The taxi squad made a lot of sense for the COVID season in 2021, but right now it doesn't make a lot of sense from a player development perspective.
Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but good for him.
I kind of hope he wears number 1. I think number 1 would be cool.
Numero uno.
I know he very clearly prefers 2. He's worn 2 at every level, but it's either you got to get Greg Jones to give up that number, which I don't know if he will, or number 1 is available. And, I like the number 1. The Rockies really haven't had a ton of super exciting number 1s throughout their entire existence. Brandon Barnes wore 1, Jamie Carroll. My favorite of the bunch, of course, is Garrett Hampson. But other than that, it's like you had Trinidad Hubbard.
Yeah.
In like 94. A guy I legitimately do not remember existing named Anderson Machado. Who was apparently a shortstop who played 4 games and had 13 plate appearances for the Rockies in 2005. Good
for him. Winning year, 2005. Weird wrinkle here from Thomas Harding, Evan, that Rockies have summoned Adael Amador to join the club in St. Louis, but no decision has been made whether to officially recall and activate him. Club is still seeing if Brendan Rodgers' hamstring is bad enough for him to go to the injured list.
That's
then why not bring up Aaron Schunk or something?
or just wait.
Yeah, let
This
I need a s-
podcast
I
is
need a
confusing me.
I need a screaming soundboard. Like, what the heck is going on?
Why would you summon all the way from Hartford, which from St. Louis, Missouri to Hartford, Connecticut, that is not a short distance.
Yeah.
If you are not sure you are going to call him up.
Yeah. Well, if anything, he gets a nice little trip to St. Louis.
So he can learn to ride on the planes. Oh,
Yeah.
God, we're going full circle. We're going to take another quick break. I won't do it. The Rockies might not do it either, apparently. But we're going to take another quick break. When we get back, we'll wrap things up. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Oh, this team.
Welcome back to Affected by Altitude with Evan and Skyler on Rocky Mountain Rooftop. Why does this team do the things that they do, Skyler?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
I'm
Team's baffling.
I don't like sand.
I don't like the Rockies either sometimes.
I am baffled. I am truly baffled. If they summon this kid all the way to St. Louis and then they bring him with them, what if they bring them with him to Minnesota and they still haven't made that decision?
Also, I like I like people hearing this on Monday. Space-Time Continuum always cracks me up, where we're having these reactions and the answers will be revealed by the time people have heard this. But they're getting our pre-raw emotions, which is always funny.
Look, you're getting this show in its rawest possible state, which is we record before anything actually happens and then get confused. And then by the time we release the episode, by the time this is edited and up on Monday morning, we'll probably have all these answers.
That happens. That's baseball.
Exactly.
So it goes. Thanks, bud.
And that's professional sports in a nutshell. Is that something can change at the drop of a hat, and we can't be on call to record 24/7 to make changes or whatever.
Yeah,
and it just so happens that we've got to record on weekends on days that work best for us with our own schedules.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get these reactions of just why is the team like this? But
a lot of the time we can just have stock answers. Like we can just get stock answers. I'll stick them in a soundboard, and then we'll just.
I think that Adael Amador will play a baseball game. It's the Frankenstein together audio.
Yep.
Oh man. Well, a couple more things to talk about here. Some more pitching moves. This Rockies bullpen has just been kind of a hot mess. Lots of moves, constant moves. The Rockies announced today that they are calling up Jeff Hartley from AAA Albuquerque and a corresponding roster move.
Sorry.
I'm going to take that soundboard away from you, Skyler.
Farewell, Carasidi.
Matt Carasiti's been designated for assignment. Tough break for Carasiti. We were watching the game last night and kind of baffled that they were bringing in Carasiti when he had pitched a ton over the last couple days. In the month of June so far, he has already thrown over 100 pitches, including his outing last night, which did not go so well. Unfortunately, he gave up the 3 game-winning runs for the Cardinals. But other than that, I thought Carasiti had been doing pretty well, all things considered. Unfortunately, this is sort of the way it goes for these journeyman pitchers. Carasiti is very likely to clear waivers and end up back with Albuquerque if he decides to continue playing. And I feel like a lot of times there's kind of an agreement with the team. We know Ty Block has been like that, where there's sort of an understanding that, if they need to clear roster space, he's going to go down to Albuquerque.
Got nowhere else to go.
Ty Block just might really like Albuquerque.
Well, I think he likes just pitching for his hometown team.
Yeah, and I applaud Ty Block for that, and I applaud a lot of these guys. It's like we were saying before the show, it's the way of a journeyman reliever, and unfortunately, this is a team that desperately needs bullpen help because, unfortunately, over the last couple starts, we haven't gotten the same length out of the rotation that we normally do. We've had to rely on the bullpen more, and then the bullpen's been struggling, which means you have to bring in even more bullpen pitchers. We're starting to see some more work out of Anthony Molina, just out of necessity. And, unfortunately, not a whole lot that can be done. But Jeff Hartley on the way up, he was one of the guys who was competing for a roster spot during spring training. He's a guy who's got plenty of big league experience. He's 30 years old. He's played for the Pirates, the Mets, and the Marlins.
All winners.
Last year, he only had 2 appearances in the big leagues with the Marlins. 4 total innings, 1 earned run given up, 3 strikeouts, 3 walks. Outside of that, some very mixed results over not a lot of playing time. The most he's played in a season is 29 appearances and 35 innings in his 2019 rookie year, 9 ERA during that time. But then in 2020 with the Pirates, 21 appearances and a 3.63. He's been fine down in Albuquerque, 5.61 ERA, which in the PCL isn't terrible. 34 strikeouts, 15 walks. It is what it is at this point, and it's such a frustrating time of year that we are already at this point that we are cycling through these bullpen pitchers. What are your thoughts on the state of the bullpen, Skyler?
It's been bad. A lot of it's been bad, just inconsistencies and struggles, and then you got some injuries in there. Overworked guys and mismanagement of the bullpen. And Bud Black's fascination with sticking in rookie pitchers, who don't have a lot of big league experience, sticking them in with bases loaded situations. No, it's just been mismanaged. And the starting rotation helped a lot, but when it struggled, the bullpen's really struggled as well, even when the rotation's been good. When there's no confidence. Unless we have like a 7-run lead in the 7th and 8th and 9th inning, there's no confidence that you can close out a game and win it without giving up 6 runs in those final 3 innings. The bullpen struggled against, was it the Reds, where they just kept giving up runs and runs in those last couple innings, and it keeps happening where we're losing games in the 8th and 9th inning, which, awful.
It's the incredible amount of inconsistency we've had from pretty much everyone on this bullpen, save for Victor Vodnik, who's been amazing. But he's also been worked a great deal, where he's got tons of multi-inning appearances. He's already appeared in 27 games this year and pitched 35 1/3 innings. But he's been very solid. I'm incredibly happy with Victor Vodnik. I would call him probably the most consistent of any guy on this bullpen right now.
Yeah.
But then you look at other guys. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and Vodnik, he's been used in a role that he probably shouldn't be, of having to usually pitch multiple innings. Go 2 innings a lot of the time, where that's probably not ideal, but at least he's held up to it. But then you worry, well, is this overuse thing going to hurt him next year, like it did Jake Bird or Justin Lawrence, where now they're having arm troubles type of thing.
And both of whom are still on the injured list, and we're not sure when they're going to be back at this point. And the injuries keep mounting up. And then you've got guys like Jalen Beeks, who has been both very good and very bad so far this season. It's tough. It's tough to really look at this and know what we're going to do about it, because Nick Mears has been pretty solid. But is still developing. Tyler Kinley's been incredibly hit or miss. He's either been very, very good or very, very bad. Josh Rogers, limited playing time, and had to be in that long relief role. Honestly, we don't even have a lot of single inning relief guys in the bullpen right now on the active roster. The bullpen is tapped out. And then you've got poor Angel Chavi, who during the Red Series, you bring him in with the bases loaded and he promptly gives up a grand slam. And it's something that Bud Black has done again and again that truly baffles me. And I don't understand why he does this, where your position player prospects struggle to get playing time. But if you're a rookie, a fresh-faced rookie, in your first or second ever big league appearance, he will throw you to the wolves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens. You know, that's baseball,
But
as you would say.
why?
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, it's really doing a disservice to them when, one, if you don't have any other options, just let the other guy work through it. You've already lost the game anyway.
Especially
Or,
because Bud does have a habit of making guys wear it.
yeah,
So if you're going to make a guy wear it, just make him wear it and don't throw the 21-year-old who just arrived in the big straight from AA
yeah,
into the meat grinder.
because you can't use this. Oh, they won't have a scouting report, so we have the advantage there. Bases loaded, rookie pitcher. That kid's grooving a fastball over the plate to try and get it over. And so you're swinging first pitch no matter what it is, and it works out. So it's his mismanagement of that bullpen, and his, for as much as he has been, I guess, applauded as a pitching manager, Rockies pitching's been kind of bad under his stay too.
And that's sort of been, honestly, his MO. And it kind of got swept under the rug early in his tenure with the Rockies because the starting pitching was actually pretty strong in like 2017 and 2018.
Yeah, he was ready to help guide guys that were ready, type of thing.
Yeah.
Where he didn't have to really help, but he could like just give them some advice and kind of help bring them along and whatnot.
But his bullpen mismanagement has always been
exactly
pretty suspect. A lot of leaving guys out there too long, not having guys warming up quick enough when it's clear that this is about to go off the rails, making guys wear it, putting guys into situations that they should not be in. And it's really frustrating because, again, I have nothing personally against Bud Black, but it's just another reason that shows that he should not be the manager of this team.
Yeah. And there's always the excuse. He's like, well, what do you expect him to do with this roster? Like, that's kind of the point where
it.
That's them
why,
better.
Yeah. If he is this pitching whisperer, this former big league pitcher who was pretty good during his career, nothing incredible or write home about or anything like that, but a solid big league pitcher and known to be a pitcher's manager, then why is his management of the pitching so bad?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, is it was the trade-off of the offense has really stalled out under Bud Black, but the trade-off was supposed to be that the pitching was going to get better. And for a little bit it was, but for the most part it hasn't been. And I think that's an organizational issue as well as Bud Black. I think the coaching staff like Darryl Scott and other people are not helping with that due to their very outdated pitching philosophies. But it's not impossible to pitch at Coors Field. We've seen Cal Quantrill pitch quality at Coors Field. We've seen plenty of visiting pitchers be pretty good at Coors Field.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, that's just not happening. The pitching is bad.
Yeah.
And for a while, we were riding probably an unsustainable wave of the starters punching way above their pay grade. But that wasn't going to last forever. And I give huge props to Cal Quantrill, who did not have his sharpest stuff in game one against the Cardinals and still got through 5 innings while keeping the Cardinals, pretty subdued on offense. And Austin Gomber, who had a very bad first inning yesterday and allowed the Cardinals to surge up to 4 runs and then shut him down for another 4 innings, and the Rockies pulled ahead. So it's like we're still getting some gutsy performances from the starters, but you can't expect them to rattle off, 5-6 quality starts in a row like they did before. That's probably not going to happen. And while there's reinforcements coming for the rotation, we've heard that Freeland is starting to get back there, Herman, maybe even Senzi late in the year. There's no reinforcements for the bullpen.
And that speaks to, we're like, yes, the players do hold their part of the blame too, because they're the ones out there throwing the ball.
Yes.
And they're not throwing strikes. Walks are a huge problem for the team in general, but specifically the bullpen, where they can't get that lockdown inning. Because how many runs did the Reds score with 2 outs? No, they couldn't come in the clutch and shut things down.
You got to shut the door.
Like, I can't. It seems very rare this season, especially, where if I needed someone to come in and I know you're going to get me my 3 outs with no drama, I'm pretty hard pressed to think of who that's going to be. Like maybe Victor Vodnik, but otherwise everybody else is pretty worrisome. Like I don't know how this is going to turn out when he comes into the game.
You know what it really shows is how much this team actually does miss Daniel Bard. A healthy Daniel Bard.
Mm-hmm. Well, even then, Bardo was a lot of some drama in the 9th inning.
But 9 times out of 10, you'd be clutching your britches hoping that they're not about to get filled. But he would get it done at the very least. And
there's a lot of relievers that can do that.
But there's just not really right now a guy that you can turn to from this bullpen outside of maybe Victor Brodnick and Nick Mears occasionally. Surprisingly, Nick Mears has been very interesting this year, who you can trust to get it done. Tyler Kinley he's not been the same since coming back.
And it goes back to like when we were talking about watching like the Oakland A's series, where we can't remember the last time the Rockies had a guy like a Mason Miller who's coming in. You're like, yeah, this game's over.
It's done. We're good.
Like, whether it turns out that
2018 Wade Davis,
even then he still had that like 4-something ERA that year.
2017 Greg Holland, then
a little bit more. Yeah, Holland was okay. A little more confidence in him, but like a Houston Street. He was wondering, like, yeah, he'll probably get this done.
Brian Fuentes.
Yeah, some of those epic closers. But the Rockies don't have really a reliever, I feel like, anymore of that caliber where it's like, this is the firefighter. He's going to come in and put it out. I trust him. Things are going to be okay.
Don't even have a closer.
Yeah. Whereas we don't have that guy. Like with the Mason Miller example, the cracks can show for him still. He's still a young pitcher, but it's that confidence you have in him when he does come and you're like, yeah, we got this.
And every closer is going to blow a save at some point.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a pitcher in the world that's immune from having a bad outing or two every year. But the thing is, you need that guy who you trust of, we're going to send him in and he's going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is the Rockies don't really have that, because I'm looking at their active roster for pitching staff. Jalen Beeks kind of looked like that at the beginning, but now he's been a little all over the place. Ty Block isn't, he's not your closer. He's your long reliever and starter. Angel Chavi is way too young for us to know that, and he's still developing. And if he gets any like closer type outings, I would be surprised. Feltz is a starter. Gomber's a starter. Jeff Hartlieb is not that guy. I can tell you that for free. I don't think he's going to be terrible, but he's not a closer and never really has been. Kinley could have been, but like we've said, never really has looked the same since that injury. Nick Mears has shown some aptitude for that role.
But he's a little wild.
But effectively wild, because he'll singe your eyebrows. But, you got to worry about him placing the ball correctly. And then you have Anthony Molina, again, long reliever into starter. Josh Rogers, long reliever or starter. And Victor Vodnik. And so you can maybe say it's Vodnik, but Vodnik is still, I would say, not there yet.
Yeah, not closer yet. He's a setup guy, definitely, like a 7th, 8th inning guy. Not quite there for the 9th, but he could be. And I think that's kind of where he sits with the Rockies. But it's like when we look at Justin Lawrence, where we know what he can do, but he's still a little too inconsistent, where that 9th inning gets away from him because, there's a walk. All of a sudden now a hit, home run. Oh, we're down by 3.
Yeah. We can say the same for Jake Bird as well.
Yeah.
And we can say the same for both J-Law and Bird of what you just said about Vodnik, which is right now kind of a late inning setup kind of guy with the hopes that he can develop into that high leverage closer that the Rockies have needed for so long. And then it just doesn't happen. So, all we can really do is wait and see. I do think Victor Vodnik, of anybody on this pitching staff, has that closer potential right now.
Mm-hmm.
But we've got to do it right. And we've got to develop him properly. And I'm just not sure the coaching staff is up to that right now.
Yeah, because especially like in today's day and age, your closer just has to be dominant. Like he's going in, foot on the gas pedal, he's pumping heat, and he's got a wicked slider, something to go with it.
And he's got to have a cool intro.
Yeah, and that doesn't play in the bottom of the 9th to hype up the other team.
pretty much.
You got to have a lead heading into the ninth inning.
And that, who knows how often that's going to happen.
And then promptly give it up so then you can do the light show in between innings for the bottom of the ninth.
Still so weird that they do that. Real quick, I will wrap things up with some relatively bright news on the injury front. Justin Lawrence is going to be traveling with the Rockies to Minnesota.
Minnesota.
He's, I believe he's scheduled to throw a bullpen today. He's facing live hitters over the weekend as well. And then he's going to have a rehab assignment, hopefully fairly soon. Jake Bird has been working on things down in the complex in Arizona and will hopefully be getting a rehab assignment soon as well. We're expecting both of them back in June right now, and hopefully they can, come back. They've both been working on mechanics while they've been out, and we'll see if they can then make that difference. But that's going to do it for us here on Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Hopefully by the time this airs on Monday, we have some clarity on what on earth this team is doing with Adael Amador. I feel bad because he posted on his Instagram and everyone's going like, congratulations, you're getting called up. And we don't know if he's getting called up.
Whoa, hold your horses there.
That stinks. But Skyler, where can the folks find you at?
Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes, that's why I asked.
To McDonford's near you.
Get your McDuggies.
But Keith Duggar. But Keith Duggett. But you can find me over on Twitter at sideline_crowd, making memes, writing articles, dying in the heat here in Southern Colorado. Evan, it's been so hot inside my house. I slept in a tent in the front yard these past couple nights because it's been so dang hot.
What's the bug situation like?
There's some skeeters out there, some Sugarland skeeters.
I'm going to be real. I can't tell if you're joking.
No, legit. There's mosquitoes everywhere.
No, the tent.
No, legit. I slept in a tent for 2 days. It's so hot inside this house.
That sounds miserable.
It was like 86 degrees in the house, and it was like 75 outside. So I slept in a tent.
Was it better?
Yes, very much so.
Okay, then.
I'm not joking. I slept in a tent for 2 days to end the week before we recorded.
Homer Simpson sleeps in an oxygen tent, which he believes gives him sexual power.
Hey, that's only half true. But yeah, find me over there on Twitter, and then writing Wednesday Rock Piles over at purplerow.com, writing stuff occasionally over for fansfirstsports.com. And be on the lookout for every Rocky ever this summer. Whenever my brother has time, since he's out of school this summer, we'll find a time to record again.
You can do one about Anderson Machado, who played 4 games for the Rockies in 2005.
He's a good one for Guess That Rocky.
It's a fun game to play.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Twitter at Evan_Lang27. You can find me on purplerow.com doing the Monday Rock Pile and weekly Pebble Report. Always plenty of stuff to say over there. You can also find Rocky Mountain Rooftop on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at Rocky Mountain Rooftop. That's at ROCKYMTN Rooftop. And again, that's going to do it here for us here on Affected by Altitude. Thank you so much for sticking with us. And as a fun fact, do you know that Michael Toglia has a brother who plays third base for the University of Portland?
Yes. He posts about him all the time.
I did not know that until relatively recently.
Michael Toglia also has a TikTok account.
TikTok Toglia?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, copyright that. Copyright that right now.
Oh, sorry. It's getting banned by the government.
Yeah, bummer. Oh, well. We'll move on. We always do. Remember Vine? Vine was big for a little bit.
As the world turns, so do we.
There will always be some sort of app that everyone uses and then nobody uses. That's just how the internet goes.
And now you know the rest of the story.
Good day. Hit him with it, Skyler.
Farewell! Thanks, Mr. Bean.
It's the music in the background that really gets it.
Nice 80s riffs. while he's giving gifts to his family, to the host family. But yes, that's the reference that we have for at the end of every episode. Mr. Bean. Farewell.